Hey there, everyone. We should be live. Oh, actually, let me just go. And first of all, am I using the right audio? Yeah. And then also, I forgot to turn off the water fountain. That is tiny. So it doesn't sound like there's a babbling creek behind me, which might be fun. Hello, Matt. Matthew, you are here always. Awesome. Today, I kind of wanted to see. I haven't read an article in a little bit, at least on live. So I want to do that. Reading from Nikhil's blog here. Just saw it was posted a few days ago. Get me out of data hell. Not sure where it's going to go, but let's see. I'm curious to see kind of where it goes. Feel free to kind of post questions too. I'll probably get to them as well, so you guys can kind of jump in. But yeah, I'm curious. Has anyone read anything from this blog? I think the one I was first introduced to was the 500K. We're saving my company 500K via Snowflake by by switching the default, basically we call it default uptime, essentially from 10 minutes to 1 minute for Snowflake. Hi y'all. All right, I'll probably just start reading this here. We got a few people here. It's been a minute. I got to get like some background music and something that goes in between this. So get me out of data hell. Let's go. So it's 9:59 a.m. in Melbourne, 9th of October, 2024. Sunlight filters through my windows, illuminating, swirling motes of dust across my living room. That's motes. Motes? I actually don't know that one. There's a cup of tea in my hand. I take a sip and savor it. I text the other senior engineer, who, unlike me, is full-time. I'm curious if the joke there is, I think he's a consultant now. So it's kind of nice to not have to be on full-time on the team. I'm ready to start at 10, as is our custom, as is our way. The minute hand moves. It is 10 a.m. in Melbourne, 9th of October. All right, we're getting down to the minutes here. 9th of October, 2024. The sun is immediately extinguished and replaced by a shrieking skull hanging low in the frigid sky. I glance down at my tea and it is blood. I take a sip and savor it. I text the other senior engineer on the team. Are you ready to enter the pain zone, as is our custom? What's up, SUG? Is the blog that wrote about AI and how it's BS. Yes, he also did write an article. I think it was titled like if you effing say AI again, I will if you say AI again, I'll like effing dropkick you or something. Yes, I believe that was also the same blog. Good. Yeah, it was a good one. All right, the pain zone. The pain zone, coated in grass, which rends those who tread upon it like a legion of you praised? Words upraised, Jesus, upraised spears is an enterprise data warehouse platform at the small scale we operate at. With little loss of detail, a data warehouse platform simply means that we copy a bunch of text files from different systems into a single place every morning. So we take stuff from over there and move it over here, like that meme from Patrick Starr. Like, we take it from over there and put it over here. Whenever I explain a data warehouse, it does sound a little bit silly sometimes. The word enterprise means that we do this in a way that makes people say, "Dear God, why would anyone ever design it this way or that way?" But that doesn't even help with security, and everyone involved should be fired for the sake of all that is holy and pure. I'm curious in terms of security, because obviously the word enterprise, I'm curious if he's referring to his or all EDWs, mostly because hopefully your EDW has security. It doesn't help with security because it makes it a pain in the butt, because you got to give everyone the right level of access. And even when I worked at Facebook, it was a pain to give the right person the right level of access to every data set. We couldn't give someone access to payroll, but we could give them access to recruiting data. So you've got different levels of even HR access to data. But let's keep going. For example, the architecture diagram, which describes how we copy text files to our storage location, that location has 104 separate operations on it. When I went to count this, I was expecting to write 40, and that was meant to illustrate my point. Instead, I ended up counting them up 3 times because there was no way it could be over 100. This whole thing should have been 10 operations. I'm curious what he means there in terms of like, I one example, I guess, of that I've done in the past is we basically had the same set of operations where we had like 40 different companies sending us files into an SFTP. And so we didn't have to make 40 times like 3 different file types. We didn't have to make 120 different pipelines for that. We made like 3 or 4 pipelines for that. They just handled each of those files differently depending on who they came from, which is basically what he's saying here. Retrieve file, validate file, save file, log what you did, right? Load it in, and that's it. Those could all be 1 point on a diagram, but I am being generous. And you can keep the extra 6 points for stuff I forgot. That's 10. Why are there 104? Sweet, merciful Christ. Why? At 2 of 4 businesses I've worked at, the most highly performing engineers have resorted to something that I think of as pain zone navigation. It's the practice of never working unless pair programming simply to have someone next to you, bolstering your resolve so that you can gaze upon the horrors of the pain zone without immediately losing your mind. Of course, no code alone can make people this afraid of work. Code is ultimately characters on a screen, and software engineers do nothing but hammer that code into shapes that spark joy and money. Okay, is that the software engineers versus data engineers? One makes lots of money, one doesn't. Also, feel free to ask questions as we're going. The fear and dread that comes from a culture where people the fear and dread comes from a culture where people feel bad that they can't work quickly enough in the terrible code base, where they feel judged for slowing down to hammer the code into better shapes that sadly aren't on the Jira board, and where management looks down on people who practice craftsmanship. I mean, that I think we can all probably relate to. We've all been pushed to deliver things quickly and not have craftsmanship. I think that's sometimes the bummer. And the thing that really does make work in general less fun. Like if you want to talk about why some people are like, I don't like my job. I think that's part of it. Is you were never allowed to really, build or enjoy it anymore. You must always deliver. You cannot stop. There is no stopping. It's not, you're not working on it for the love of it. You're working on it purely for the, return of shareholder value. And that's the limitation. We must create shareholder value, and anything that looks like craftsmanship, we must remove, which is why, they'll be okay with ChatGPT writing code because, no one has time for 100% organically created and thought through code. That's too expensive. We must increase productivity for the sake of increasing it, but let's keep going. The last doesn't even require malicious management. It just needs people that don't respect how deep craftsmanship can go. These are the same people that do not appreciate that an expert pianist is not simply pressing keys. They are obsessively perfecting timing and the force applied to each key, alongside dozens of factors that I can't comprehend. An unthoughtful person will see something and think, it can't be that hard, or more generously, that looks quite hard. The respectful thought to have when viewing any competent professional in a foreign domain, in every domain that I'm aware of, is that must be harder than it looks. I feel like I have this every time I see someone, especially someone do something athletic, right? Like you look at it and you're like, you made it look so easy, which means it must be very hard. You must have taken time. I think this is something I do miss a little bit from working in the culinary field. Like we would constantly try to, craft things. And yes, we would be forced to push harder, but it was always like push faster, but be better kind of mentality. And you always tried, like every day you're like, how can I do whatever I'm doing better? And it's harder to do, I think, in the technical world when you're pushed to do more, again, faster. And I feel, again, now with things like so many layoffs and people pushing for, AI everything, and you use Copilot, don't code yourself, you kind of lose it a little bit. You stop thinking about how to make things better, and you're just like, how do I get things done? And those are two different things. Actually, I've been talking a lot to my wife about this because, a lot of times when I ask the question, like when I feel bad at the end of the day, it's because I didn't get enough done. And I think the new perspective I've been trying to ask myself is not, have I done a lot today, but have I done good work today, right? Like, who cares if I did a lot of work? Did I do work that I'm proud of today? And I think that's something I've tried to switch my mentality for. Because yeah, otherwise you are trying to do a lot of stuff and you're one person and you can only get so much done. So I'd say I like that mentality more, right? Like, am I proud of what I've done? Not am I trying? Did I get enough stuff done? So, anyways. All right, I've now seen enough workplaces, and thanks to the blog, have access to enough executives to know that this is what most cultures degenerate into. Terrible companies are perpetual uh, cognito hazards. Fun word. This is one thing I do like, is his writing style. I feel like my writing style is so bland, and I want to kind of pick up. Like I've in the past written much better, I feel like, and having this much fun when writing, I think is always is good. And I like reading writing that has more depth in word choice and like fun with word choice. You don't have to be boring. Where everyone is bullied all day. The median companies, which some people call good for the lack of ever seeing better, lack the outright bullying, but still consist of people that are trying to convince themselves that it's fine to feel disempowered or subservient all day. There are times in my life where I have to deal with this, but it is hardly fine. The best are places where you can get at least some of the things that a person needs other than rent money. Man, I'm sure there's some people that feel that, like, we're not just robotic, robots that are again putting out code and manufacturing code. We want more from life. We want our code to be useful. We want our code to be beautiful. There's so much more to it. This place has a better culture than most, as bullying is mostly not tolerated. We have fully remote work, and is a terrible faux pas to access someone of not working fast, or accuse someone of not working fast enough outright. Though you can hint at it gently. And I mean, that's most companies, right? Like even the nicest companies, if you are working at a pace they feel is not good enough, usually it'll be something like, how can we help, right? Like, how can we help you do your job better, or something like that. It is worse than most places at software engineering. You'll see. Okay, so we haven't even started. In any case, we've kind of just set the lay of the land. I have a deal with the team. Every morning, grab your coffee, attend your meetings, and at 10 a.m., we navigate the pain zone together for at least 3 to 4. Nope, I'm done. 3 to 4 hours of staring at the code. No. Together? No, I'd be stressed if I have to be on a call with someone for 3 to 4 hours. Management is blissfully unaware that this force of camaraderie and mutual psychotherapy is the only way that things continue to limp along. All right. I think we're getting into the actual code bit here. And again, feel free to ask questions if you've got some thoughts, or even just general questions. All right. I am lost to the pain zone. Also, I've linked this article below in case anyone wants to go to it later. We have one simple job today. The organization wants to know, is data coming into our system? Is any data being lost? Okay. Each data source goes through approximately 13 steps on average. How many are getting stuck along the way? I feel like this should be really easy to answer, and I feel like it's not going to be hard, like easy to answer. It's one of those things where you're like, this is going to be a pain. I think we're going to see pain here, because if you can't do these simple things, your jobs, I would be done. I'd leave this job, and I feel like it's about to be hard. Someone has already landed all of the logs our system produces in the data warehouse, so we can examine them in there alongside the actual data. Is that smart? I don't know. Something feels a bit weird about it, but I have no concrete objection. My code navigator and I decided to look at the logs for one data source. This is where 5 seconds in, we begin to become lost in the pain zone. Great. I told you it's going to be a mess. Let's say the data source we picked was Google Analytics. We searched the landed logs for Google Analytics, expecting something like this, which is what you'd expect, right? Or a file name or something that makes it very clear exactly where something came from, right? Which it's hard not to skip ahead, but I'm worried when I see this. Here is what I actually see in the source column, and yes, it's actually looked exactly this bad. This looks like, I don't know, is it in like an Airflow number, or like, because like Airflow has IDs? What is this? I don't even know. I don't like. Was this a custom built orchestration tool? And something. This is crazy. Let's see. I'm just seeing what questions people have. Do we need to know what company he works for? No. I mean, you can probably maybe look back at his history. He's got it about me, but love the Primeagen format. I mean, we'll see. I don't. He's yeah. I like his stuff. I like his drawings, and I guess him and Thor both do really good drawings, which I think is what keeps me attracted to watching those videos. Please do more reading. All right. Well, we'll try. Cool. So that is not Google Analytics. Nope, it is not. In fact, what is that? It looks like someone has dumped a random snippet of JSON into the logs, but not even oh yeah, actually, I was curious about this. I was like, huh, that's weird. It's like cut off here. I just assumed he had posted it wrong. No, that was not. Okay. But not even the entirety of the JSON. The strings aren't terminated. We should have about 50 source systems. So how many distinct source systems appear? 57,000. So yeah, I'm done. I'm quitting this job right here. This is, I'm done. Someone else's problem. Someone else's, not my circus, not my monkeys kind of moment. Like, what is? We've been writing total nonsense to half the logs for over a year, and no one noticed. I mean, okay, going back to that craftsmanship line. I mean, there's a little bit of no one noticed, no one cared. We only have two jobs: get the data and log that we got the data, but the logs are nonsense. So we aren't doing the second thing. And because the logs are nonsense, I don't know if we've been doing the first. Yes, and this is kind of why I love making sure that when I build these systems, you have a little log that says, hey, where did this data come from? It just creates lineage. It's little things. I remember my first job, we would track, because we would get files in, and we made sure every the raw data always had the file it came from attached to it, because it's like you would never be able to figure out where it came from. And then when you have to delete things, it's really easy to delete when you know where it comes from, if something bad came in. So anyways, I take a deep breath. The plan is to submit my notice on, yeah, okay. So we had the same decision. I had it up here, but yeah, we had the same decision. The plan is to submit my notice on December 2nd. Anyway, so this is fine. This is so fun. The other engineers already know I'm leaving, and we've all committed to do the best we can for 2 months for our spiritual growth. The ability to do painful things is a virtuous skill to cultivate as a responsible adult, and especially as a data engineer. Okay, how is this happening? Well, it turns out we're embedding a huge amount of metadata in file names. And the Lambda function that produces all of this, of course, we're serverless, because how can you hurt yourself without a cutting edge? Oh, well, that's a good line. How can you hurt yourself without a cutting edge? Use lots of regex. I hate this. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of like you can avoid, I feel like, a lot of this in the data world, but whatever. Unfortunately, because we don't have any tests, someone eventually wrote some code to download data and passed a big JSON blob instead of a file name. Yeah, see, told you, file name, to the logging function. And the function happily went, great, I'll just regex out the source. Oh, yeah. Source system from the file name. Except it wasn't a file name, so it has instead spewed garbage into the system for months. I mean, this should have been tested. I don't know where we're going to figure out that feeling, but this should have been tested, I guess. Again, it's easy to say, like you brought up earlier, sometimes data teams are just pushed. So I don't want to I assume their team is smart. I always assumed the team before me was smart, and usually pressure was the issue. It might be wrong sometimes, but I generally assume that, people are smart. There was a reason that things happened. So, because we all make bad decisions sometimes, and sometimes we're pushed to not be able to do things well. But try to do things well when you can, right? Because there's something to be said about, hey, I want to do things well. I find something like this every time we enter the pain zone. Sometimes we've laughed so hard that we've cried, and things we've seen $2,000 per day consultants do. Okay. Am I $2,000 a day per consultant? How much do I charge? Okay, that makes sense. The issues raised with the team, but because fixing this critical error in our auditability is not on the board, and velocity must be up, number must go up. Fixing the log is judged to be less important than parsing the nonsense logs. Why? We have another saying in our team: stop asking questions. You gotta, yeah. Because I was gonna say, like, no, the first thing should be fix the logs, because parsing nonsense logs is not gonna help. But wow, that's hilarious. Yeah, new series. I take another deep breath. Okay, we'll continue with the work instead of fixing the critical production error. We can't query the Google Analytics stuff based on the source system. So let's pick another one. We also draw data from Twitter once every 2 hours, and the source column isn't broken for that. I just need to be able to associate the log events to begin working on that. That is, we'll have one log that says, I download the data from Twitter, and another log that says, I checked that it all had the correct stuff in it. And I just have to tie them together. I don't like the way this table is configured for various reasons, but I'm expecting to see event ID, source, event, success. Okay, so then I just do something like event, success from, etc. Where this in this? I'm trying to think what's going to go wrong in this query. What would go wrong here? So event ID is 1. Okay, I'm not sure, but let's see. Okay, I don't want to reveal it just yet because I'm like, what goes wrong here? Now, I can see if all the correct stuff happened, but I cannot find an event ID column or anything that looks like one. I hit up the expert on the system, and I'm informed that I should use the AWS log column. I don't, I look at it. It looks like this. Okay, so this is, it looks like is this in like an S3 bucket somewhere or something? I mean, firstly, what is this? Secondly, what? Thirdly, well, you get it. Why not just store this in relational format? Yeah, because it's like you could have just broken this out. Why are there all in one column? Why do you hate me specifically? Why, God, why? And then also they're like not even broken up by the same delimiter, right? At the very least, if it was consistent, unless you, yeah, because I'm assuming this is 2 different things, you could at least have validated in the file location in different places and then break it up from there. But yeah, why is it not stored in relational format? Why are there all in one column? Why do you hate me specifically? Stop asking questions. You're only going to hurt yourself. I'm expected to use regular expression to construct a key in my query. As far as I can tell, the numbers and the letters don't represent or uniquely identify anything. They've really just been appended for no reason. I waste a fair amount of time figuring out if I can use them. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those places where it's like, yeah, no, I mean, no. December 2nd, I tell myself, of course, I could be working on a book, shipping a hobby project, and dedicating more time to the business we're committing to in January. But December 2nd was the plan. It will be great. It'll be a great exercise to come up with a plan to gradually refactor all of this while delivering the things we're supposed to. It will make me a better engineer. December 2nd. Hold fast. Okay, who's ever had this? Like, I just got to make it to this one day. Was to say why the job description say data engineer but list lots of skill requirements with years of experience. Oh, this is a question. This is I assume less about what I'm reading, because I was like, oh, are you saying that this is why data engineers job descriptions require so many skills? Here's why: because they have so many skills required. You got to use regex, you got to use code, you got to read through a log, you got to do so much to just get files from point A to point B. Again, we're just trying to get files from likely like an S3 bucket or something into a data warehouse. That's all we're trying to do, guys. All we are trying to do. All right, I'm out. Cool. Okay, we can write regular expression to identify all the Twitter sources that came from, the date 11/03/2023. This is very stupid, but compared to minimum wage in my home country, I am being compensated spectacularly to deal with this particular brand of stupidity. I think this is always like the hardest thing. Working in fine dining, I loved it. It's fun. You again get to spend more time often doing some more craftsmanship approach, but the pay is terrible. And then you go and you're like, I mean, I'm dealing with problems that are dumb, but I'm also getting paid a lot. So I must accept my fate, right? We must all accept our fate. It's just how it is. But wait, we retrieve this once every 2 hours, which means that while I can find all the Twitter data polls from the 11th, I can't actually tell which rows are associated with 8 a.m. versus 2 p.m. Oh no, there's no. Oh, I just assumed there was like a timestamp here. Just put the timestamp in the file name at the very least. Okay. This is perplexing. AWS logs column only identifies things down to the day, not the hour. We have another column that logs the exact time to the second that a Lambda function is fired, but each step happens at a slightly different time, and each source takes different amounts of time to base file. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you don't want a timestamp. You want the actual, like, if this is the 8 a.m. or 2 p.m., because otherwise you're gonna have to figure out which one it is. I messaged the team. Any ideas for how to identify specific runs that don't assume there's only one run per day? We take a 10-minute break. We return. I'm informed that there is no way to do this. All I can think of is to create a heuristic per data source such that I see when the file was acquired. And this is how we build really complex systems, right? Like we take a really simple thing and make it really hard. And then because we made it really hard and now we don't know where sources are, we build, I'm going to guess he's going to build like some sort of rule system, like heuristic, that just kind of helps break things down. And so now you have this complex system that handles a simple system because someone in the very beginning either wasn't given enough time to build something correctly. Okay, I kind of lost my spot there. Such that I see that a file was acquired, then scan for the validation event that happens closest to the acquisition event without going so far ahead that I read the next successful validation event by mistake. I just wanted to see if the data was landing in the platform. And that's all we want to do, guys. Is data landing and where is it coming from? And to make things worse, I suddenly remember that I've seen this AWS log thing before. A month after I joined the business, I saw it and I said that it was unacceptably bad. The response was, it's okay because all the data we want is technically inside those strings and the design is more flexible. Of course, since then, we've added our first data source that is downloaded more than once per day. So it turns out, shockingly, that they should have just used Postgres and not tried to be excessively clever, as always. Yeah. Always fight the need to be clever. Do things like aim for refinement over like being clever and complex. How have we been running things like this for 2 years? Millions of dollars were spent on this system. Millions. Can I have some of that? Jesus. We're spent on this system. Our CTO, who has never written code themselves, gets on stages every few months and just lies to people about things that the CTO can't possibly understand, pretending that any of this works and that they're a leader in the space. Okay, I think this is a good point. Like, if you ever feel like you're behind or your company is behind or there's like, I don't know, that someone is, like, wow, we're doing AI. Look at how our company's doing AI. Like, these C-level has to say this stuff to a degree. They have to prove that they're doing more things than the other companies. They want to attract new talent. They want to, maybe get funding for a new round. They want to make sure that their stakeholders are happy or their board members are happy. And they just want to be able to say, I've had management, like people in management literally ask me, like, how can we use AI here? Like, they just want to be able to say that they are doing certain things, even if they're not doing certain things. Also, if I'm yelling, I apologize. Then their friends buy the same software. I know because the recruiters keep calling to ask me if I've helped lead the efforts. Almost every large business in Melbourne is rushing to purchase our tools like Snowflake and Databricks, because the industry is pretending that any of this is more important than hiring competent people. Exactly. People and processes will get you way farther than if you use Snowflake and Databricks. I know companies that are doing much better or really good using SQL Server and SSIS and all the stuff. People are like, oh, that's old. But they're doing fine. In fact, I have a chat planned with Joe Reese on Thursday that will also be live around this time. And we're going to talk about like a few different things like offensive and defensive data projects. He just posted about like how certain companies shouldn't even have data teams. And there's a few things I'd like to do that. Let's see. What is this? I built an entire data warehouse using Azure Export to Data Lake last year just for them to decom and replace it with the broken Synapse link. Okay, so I've had so many people asking me about Azure recently, and the people that I've talked to who've used Azure systems are really frustrated, like Matthew is here, because they keep switching things. They keep taking out things and making it really hard. So if anyone likes Azure, please let me know. Uh, I've seen a lot of marketing. I've heard a lot of people tell me that it's great, but everyone that tells me is usually just referencing their marketing. So please tell me if it is great, because I hear then stories like this and then I'm like, I'm not touching it. So please let me know. Please let me know. All right. So yeah, basically, because I could build something superior to this on an ancient laptop and internet connection and spreadsheets. It would take me months tops. Exactly, millions of dollars for something that probably could have just been a spreadsheet. Um, that's a post somewhere. I've known for a long time that I can't change things here. But in this moment, I realized that the organizations value things that I don't value, and that it's simple. It's as simple as that. I could pretend to be neutral and say that my values aren't better. Okay, he's like, but they are. But my values are better. I didn't even read that line. I'm like, but I like where this is going. Having tested, I want to get more opinionated like this. I feel like my pieces and articles are not opinionated enough. I'm too nice. Like I'm just too nice. So I really want to like work on just saying what I mean sometimes. Okay, having tested code is better. Having comprehensible logs is better. I'm wasting their money sitting around until December, which is unethical. You're much better than me. I'm disrespecting myself waiting 2 more months for a measly Christmas break payout, which is unwise. Kind of true. Kind of true. And that's how they keep you at companies. Oh, I got a bonus. I got something. That's how they keep you. I've even degraded team morale because I've convinced some of the engineers that things should be better, but not management. So now some of the, that's kind of a good point, but some of the engineers are upset. I'm a net negative to the team, except for that one time I saved them so much money that it continues to cover all 3 of our managers' salaries combined. Wow. So this is all one company. How is this team still here, right? This is the 500K company. Okay. I mean, I think this is also partially due to just the massive gap in knowledge, right? Like there's such a big gap between what the business knows and what the data team knows that like the data team can get away with a lot of stuff. They can just do stuff and no one will question it. But at the same time, they're being asked to do more stuff than they should be. So it's like, in a weird way, if the business asked for more reasonable expectations, the data team could actually give them a better output and wouldn't have to kind of just make things happen in a way that just makes things happen. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to keep reading. This is funny. But yeah, he's got a good point here. Like if you can, try to focus on management, not engineers. But this is funny. As an afterthought, the person who just informed us that we have no way to associate logs to their respective ingestion event adds, by the way, I think that there's a chance some of the logs don't actually report the right things. Like the ones that say validated true are actually just hard-coded strings in a Lambda function. And people that wrote it meant to type in the file, like file landed true, but made mistakes. Great. I am dumbstruck. The other senior engineers laughing. Yeah, I mean, like at this point, you're just like, well, we probably should have checked that, but that's hilarious. It's 11:30 a.m. Okay, so we haven't even gotten through an hour and a half. In Melbourne, 9th of October, 2024. The wind vortex of ghost knives sending birds careening from the sky. I glanced down at my tea and it's liquid hatred. I take a sip and savor it. Hey, are you still there? My pairing partner replies. Yeah. Listen, I'm done. I'm out today. What about December? I could get the entire terrible first draft of a whole book out by December if I wasn't wasting my time on this. Fair. This is me right now in my book. I'm like, I just want to like, it's the only thing I really want to focus on sometimes. And then I also have a newsletter and I want to post on LinkedIn and I want to make up YouTube videos and I want to do these lives and I want to do so much. I mean, I don't feel like I'm wasting time in this case, but I do also feel like I could put out a book much faster if I didn't have all these other things I want to do. So don't feel like I'm wasting time. I love doing this. This is really fun. All right. I briefly considered contacting my partner, but I know she'll support me. Oh, I could check in with my parents, but they just worry for no reason. True. I could chat with my co-founders, but they're just going to tell me to do what I need to do. I could sleep on it, but that would just give myself the illusion of responsibility, even as I barrel towards wasting 2 more months to earn money that, thanks to 5 years of diligently navigating various pain zones, I don't even need. I resign at 2 p.m. Oh, he's got FU money. He's got FU money. He said at 2 p.m., F you guys, I'm done. Always try to get to FU money. So you can stop dealing with the pain. Also, again, feel free to ask questions. I am checking back every once in a while. All right, it's 3 p.m. in Melbourne, the 9th of October, 2024. I've called my director, who is highly competent, and explained why every engineer wants to quit, and finalized the paperwork. My last day is the 5th of November, 2024. My only job title is now director of my own consultancy, and in January, my savings will start to tick down. I glance down at my tea, and it is tea. I take a sip and savor it. P.S. Firstly, I gave a talk at GDG Melbourne, which you can watch here. The audio quality is not great, so forgive anyone who taps out. I forgive anyone who taps out. The comments are weird because I asked people to flip a coin and respond with, "This guy is the next Steve Jobs," or "This guy seems like a real piece of work," which I only regret a little bit. I should not be allowed to run a business. Secondly, I gave a webinar to US board members at the invitation of the Financial Times. Oh, that's cool. Suffice to say that while people are sincerely trying their best, our leaders are not. Oh, sorry about that. Our leaders are not even remotely equipped to handle the volume of people just outright lying to them about IT. Also, apparently, my psychotic blog does not disqualify me from Financial Times affiliations, which is wild, but is maybe a useful lesson that the world is desperate for sincerity, even when it is dressed up as corporate maturity. Maturity? I think I read that right the first time. Sorry, I'm like, am I reading that right? You're figuring out that I'm slightly, slightly challenged at reading. Hey there, everyone. That was the whole article. Oh man, who is calling me? Stop calling me. All right. Hey there, everyone. That was kind of fun. I think it was a good article, kind of fun. Yeah, I think a lot of us have probably experienced some level of data hell. Dealing with weird logging systems, weird anything. So hopefully that was kind of a fun little difference today, something different to approach to these lives. I wanted to read an article. Honestly, if anyone has any articles you want me to read and react to, I'm always going to be down. You can post it in the Discord or something. I really enjoyed this. It's a good reminder that I guess, it's hard. Data's still a mess. Actually, this makes me think of, and maybe they were like timing this together, field nodes. Let's do this. I'm going to be talking with Joe Reese, but oh, did I just freeze? I did. Hold on. Am I not frozen? Okay, good. Am I frozen, guys? Hold on. I'm coming back. I someday will get a better setup to do lives. Okay, what is this? This is a funny article, but I do think technical people need to get the point that we are a support role. What are your thoughts? So this is kind of interesting, right? Like I think in some places, yes, we have. There are certain companies, and I'm writing this in my book, and I'm saying like there are some data teams that yes will never shift from being a support or a cost center, right? Like that is just your role at the company, whether that's because the company chooses that to be that way or, whatever. You are viewed as accounting, and that is the highest value you can add at certain companies. On the flip side, there are companies that, can have a strategic data team, and, how do you bridge that gap? Is the company ready for it? Is very dependent. But I do think some of us need to stop. Like, let me just back up. Joe Reese covered this, and I want to have a live with him about this. So do watch out for that. That'll come Thursday, and talk about kind of where do data teams actually make sense. But let me read these notes really fast because I was thinking about this. One of the notes that stuck out, and I wrote an article a while ago about data being a mess, but where is the note? I am blind. Here. Data is still a mess. Most data initiatives fail. Data teams are seen as a cost center and are not getting the support they deserve, same as it ever was. I think we all think that the data world is progressing really, really fast, and we're already who knows where. And some companies are, but honestly, any company right now that's telling me that AI is making massive changes in their company, I'm gonna guess most of them aren't, because the companies that are doing it well are probably busy doing it, and you will not know for the next 3 to 5 years. And in 3 to 5 years, there's going to be companies that come out that were like, "Hey, we spent a lot of time on this. We did it slowly. We didn't talk about it because we weren't sure if it was going to work," and no one has really done it yet. Like no one has like there aren't experts who have failed at trying to implement things like AI or something like that into their company. So if you're telling me you have, it's just like, but we have to fail at it a few times to get good at it, and no one's done it enough. So data continues to be a mess, because on top of that, the whole goal for that, we just have general business processes that are hard. I was dealing with an issue recently where it's like, you have data coming in one system and then it gets pushed to another, and then people make system updates to that data on the second system that don't go back to the first system. And now you're like, okay, well, how do we make sure that data gets updated when someone manually makes an update over there? When we pull the data into the data warehouse, which one's the accurate data? Like which one's the actual source of truth? Even though one of the is the actual originator of the data, the other one gets updated. So which one do we consider to be truthful? So I think there's a lot of stuff that seems so simple, but still is so messy. Again, that whole article was talking about we're just trying to move data from point A to point B. Like that's it. We just want to track where that data comes from. That shouldn't be hard. Why is it hard? I mean, I saw companies doing this that were using SQL Server, and here we are using Snowflake and Databricks. And if we don't get those basics right, it's just going to continue to be a pain. And so, yeah, I think we're kind of just in this weird situation where we haven't been able to move forward as an industry, because we keep trying to run and we're barely crawling half the time. So, anyways, I'm gonna again talk to Joe Reese about that. I'm excited to talk about that. There's a lot to be fixed, and I don't know. I'm excited to kind of see what his thoughts are. Especially, I'm curious about his view on offensive and defensive projects as a data team, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, what is an offensive project? What is a defensive project? I'm referencing another article he wrote, which if you're not subscribed to Joe, you should be. Let's see. Relationships, playing not to lose. This was, I think, a good article as well. Playing not to lose. Oh, share this tab instead. Yeah, playing not to lose. So there's this one, and he kind of wrote about how a lot of data teams are just trying not to lose, but it was based off of this line here. So yeah, I mean, again, you guys can ask questions too. Feel free. I'm kind of read the article, had fun with it. I like responding to things. It's kind of fun. I'm trying to find articles that are opinionated, not just, I mean, maybe we'll find some that are more educational. I'm curious. I might want to read through some of, I don't know, what's his name? Vu's content. If you haven't read his, also good. Just if you need a breakdown on some basic, I don't know why I hit no. I thought I was subscribed. If you need some basic like understanding of certain things, I think his Parquet article in particular, or their Parquet article in particular, has done really well. So maybe we can do something like that. You guys can let me know. But lots of good content to cover. I don't think there's a ton of people doing like reaction content, but I'm curious if people are hungry for like reaction content. So I've been trying to do like a live every day this week. It's going to be this week only, or at least until November. I'll be kind of busy till then, but I wanted to kind of do it this week. And so I've been doing lives Monday and then today. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them. But I'm just kind of letting y'all, hanging out with y'all, enjoying this. Hopefully y'all are having a good day out there. I don't think anyone had any questions, right? Let's see. Oh, like what industry? That's what you're asking. Yeah, I don't know what industry he was in. I should know, because I think originally he didn't even post, he being the original article we were reading, didn't even post what do we call it, his name. There you go. Struggling with words. Hi, Ben. I want to hear your thoughts on Tableau and Alteryx. Don't like thoughts in terms of generally. I mean, I've used Tableau. It's fine. Alteryx never had to use it personally. There's too many tools in the data world. It's probably fine. Some people seem to like it. Tableau, the thing I don't like about it is it's kind of it's pre-cloud, so it has it. I haven't seen it change yet. It still has it's still clunky in the cloud, and so I never like that. Like maybe now they fixed saving, but I remember last time I used Tableau, which was probably like a year and a half ago. It was a pain to save. Like it wouldn't save when you were in the cloud, and then you accidentally lose everything because your computer would freeze, and then you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm done." But it's fine. Like I don't think like if you're talking about it from a job perspective, look, Tableau is a need, Power BI is a need. I was talking to someone yesterday in my technical freelancer academy. We did like a live that's only there. So if you want to see like stuff up on consulting, I've put it all in my technical freelancer academy. It's just a community. It's free to join, and there's a lot of free content in it. But we were talking about he's an expert in Click. He's been doing Click for a long time, and so yeah, we were just talking about his experience there and how like yeah, it's old, but there's a lot of need for it, and it's it's working to also get better. It's very European based, I'd say. I think it's like based out of like Sweden or one of the Swiss. I don't remember which one. One of those countries, Switzerland, Sweden, and it's based over there. But yeah, he was talking about it and the fact that because there's not a lot of people that like it's not the new cool tool. There's a lot of work and less people that are interested in doing it. So that's always cool. That does not happen, at least with my desktop. Is way better than cloud, though. Oh, no, not desktop, the cloud. I'm talking about cloud version. Yeah, desktop, no, I don't have problems saving. Cloud, though, if I ever try to use the cloud version of Tableau, it will like freeze on in the browser. But yeah, no, not the desktop. Desktop is fine. And I don't mind the desktop at all. No. Yeah, and I mean Power BI is fine. Like I don't like I'm not a huge like not as much as when I was earlier in my career. I'm not as huge of a tool fan. Like I have tools sure that I like using, but I also realize that that's only because I am used to them, not because they're necessarily better. Yeah, cloud for building dashboards is horrible. Yeah, Tableau Cloud, it's so bad. I mean, maybe it's in general. Maybe you mean like most dashboards are. Yeah, it's like we haven't. I always find it funny because we just haven't moved away from these tools that are pretty old. Like Tableau is from I think 2003 or something or 2008. I don't remember which one it is. It's old in consideration that we've like switched to different data warehousing solutions and all that. Yeah, my company uses Click, government healthcare world. Yeah, there are companies that use it. It's popular. A lot of work needs to be done on the semantic layer. I'm following, Palantir's ontology, which seems to be the next level of semantic layer with built-in lineage, access control. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, look, I get there's like two thoughts. I was thinking about this actually yesterday because like there's a lot of talk about. I've seen a few people talk about ontology, and there are like differences, right, between like ontology and traditional data modeling, specifically like analytical modeling. You add in a lot more references to like kind of how things interact with each other, not just like here's relationships. But there's also a lot of similarities in the sense that you need to build that ontology. So I think that's one thing. I was talking to a few consultants from that do Palantir work, and the big thing that is the pain, right, is you still have to build that ontology. It's not like you can drop it in the company, even though I feel like this is how they market it. Drop it in the company, it works. The reason I know that can't be true is because what you've now seen is there's a lot of people that have worked at Palantir that have started consulting companies around Palantir, which when I see consulting companies around a tool, what that tells me is it's not easy enough for the company to use by itself, right? You must have consultants set it up. And another reason they probably had a bunch of consulting companies come up is because they don't want to be considered a consulting company themselves. So you instead have someone else do the consulting work for you because you do not want consulting revenue on your books, or at least not as much on your books, because that doesn't look good for you if you're trying to be a software company. So that's not a complaint against it, to be clear. But if you need a consulting company to manage your solution, it's not easy enough to work with. And that's why all solutions need consulting companies, regardless of how much they say, hey, we're self-service analytics. That was Tableau's argument forever ago. And then you have Tableau consultants come in. So Sorry, that was really fast, and it's just a lot. I've been thinking on that one a lot recently, and I have more thoughts, and I want to write more on that. But yeah. Well, SQL's in the 80s, and we've used everywhere. Yeah, the SQL's in the 80s, but I feel like SQL to me is more foundational. It's like saying, well, we've been using programming languages forever, where Tableau is a tool. More, I mean, you can argue that programming is a tool as well, but Tableau is like, it's just different to me. It doesn't fit in the same, like, it's not fundamental. Like data visualization, no, that's not really the same. I don't really know where to put it, but it's just like Tableau to me is like, yeah. It fits in a different space. Okay, using Tableau and Power BI, I like Tableau more, but I'm starting to do more Power BI in my new role. I want to look more into Apache Superset. Everyone wants to go open source. Y'all want to make your lives harder. Y'all just want to make your lives harder. No, I mean there are certain people that like it, but it definitely is like more cult following-esque. You're not going to get. I just don't feel like you're going to get better. I think that's the thing. It's like, how many ways do you actually want to report? Like, I'm someone who wrote, when I first started doing data visualization, I did D3.js because that was what I learned. And I was like, this is awesome. I can build whatever I want. And then like I learned Tableau, and I was like, why do people make their own visualizations? Like 90% of the things I need are in Tableau, right? The other 10%, you may or may not need. But most of the graphs I'll probably need that people can understand, that like my audience can actually look at and visually be like, oh, I understand what I'm looking at, is probably in Tableau or Power BI already. The rest of that stuff, if you need custom stuff, it's for a very specific use case. And yeah, then you're gonna have to write code to probably deal with it. But that's not a knock on Superset. I haven't had to use Superset. I'm just always curious, like, what are people looking for that they are not getting, I guess, in Tableau or Power BI is usually my feeling. Yeah. Like when I was at Facebook, we had Tableau, we had Unidash, which was an internally built tool. And then someone on my team was like, let's get Metabase. And I was just like, but why? Like, I don't get why we need to add another thing. Like, what is Tableau not doing for us, or our internal tool, Unidash, that we need another tool to do? So I always think that's interesting when someone's like, maybe because they like it, or they like the idea that's open source, or something on that, or open core, and they're like, well, let's use this other tool. And I'm always curious on that. So, but if someone has a good idea, please feel free to add. And that's not a knock on open source, to be clear. It's just, why do we need another tool? That was more my thing. Tableau has extensions now, so you can create more complex graphs. So yeah, I mean, that's cool. Oh, here, not a $400 month license for my own consulting. Well, if you can, try not to. $400 a month for Tableau? Is that how much it is? I mean, one, if you can put that on your clients, it depends on how you're doing that. But usually that's the clients that cover it. But I thought it was like 99. I don't know. It was like $1,000 a year, $400 a month. What are you paying for? What? Oh man, did I forget how this is? What is your new book about? Love all things data. So sounds like something I'd be interested in. Yeah, Power BI gets expensive. The book is really focused more on like trying to deliver like impactful data work as a data leader. There's a lot of intro content that exists. So my focus was like, look, we know a lot about, there's a lot of like technical friction that we've solved. Big data is not really an issue for most companies, unless it's really big. And then you have very custom solutions. And really, that we need to know where to point our energy. Like, we need to know what we should be doing. So I'm really trying to put a lot of effort in there. Oh, Robert, hey, I remember you from yesterday, I feel like. But to answer your question, it's mostly around like the business and like trying to bridge the gap between business and data, and helping people who can, are driving that change. Does it matter if you're using Python or SQL for data quality, cleaning, and creating curated data sets? That's a lot of different things, like cleaning, curating, and data quality. Data quality, there are some libraries that exist now, so you can sometimes use pre-built libraries. If not, usually the way I'll go is do something with SQL. I tend to be from maybe an older school side of things, or more of just a data side of things, and I like using SQL to do a lot of my work. I like using Python for a lot of the orchestration and some of the like, API connectors and things of that nature. But I know that there's a very strong, like there's two sides. Like on the flip side, there's just a lot of people who like the Python side or Scala side, especially when they interact with Spark. And I think that's just, it's two sides. I don't think one is better. I think some people do think that you should just code, but I open up people's pandas and then I'm like, well, it's just procedural code most of the time. It's like, all right, you just, like what I wrote in my SQL query in CTE, you wrote in like 1,000 lines of pandas, and I don't really get it. I don't get why you like it so much better. So, but data quality, there's like some libraries if you want to do it. If not, you're gonna have to build your own system to do it. So that's how I'd sit there. Oh, this is hard. How to get remote jobs from Pakistan? I mean, I think I worked with some people from Pakistan through Upwork, but it's gonna be hard. I mean, it's always hard if you're not in the US. Yeah, obviously you're not writing. Yes. No, good luck writing API in SQL for client application. I assume you mean like getting data. No, obviously I'm not saying use SQL to access data. Yes, obviously data connectors have to be and shouldn't be in anything other than like a programming language. I'm talking about like the data manipulation part. Why should you use Python when you can just do your cleaning on something like Talend? Oh man, now we're going into the tools. So we went from SQL and Python to tooling. I mean, a lot of people some people like tooling. It frustrates people. Like tooling tends to frustrate people who, and especially I think Talend might be one of those. If I recall it, I haven't had to use it. Especially tools where like you have to like every action that you would be a SQL action has to be broken out into its own step, right? Oh, I want to join two tables. And I don't remember if this is Talend, but I know that there are certain ones that are like this, where it's like, oh, I want to join two tables. Well, that's one step, right? Like you got to drag a thing that does the join. Okay, now I got to drag another thing that does the sum. Now I got to do another thing that does this other thing. And it's a pain because I recently had to do a migration of that from that to SQL. And you've got to go through like these hundreds of steps that someone's created individually and be like, okay, what was this query? You know, and SQL at least is like transferable between different solutions. Obviously, you have to do some migration, some work. But gosh, like doing that from like a UI tool, a GUI-based tool, that every step like would be one query is 20 steps that you now have to figure out what was it actually doing. Oh man, I wanted yeah. I wanted to do what Nikhil wanted to do when he was in the article we read earlier. That's funny. But again, some people like it, and if it's what the company's using and it's standard, I think it's fine. But there are trade-offs, and you're very locked in. All right, I am a data engineer with a specialization in MLOps. Considering DE is more necessary than MLeng is more niched. Oh, and MLeng is more niched. Should I go for MLeng, thinking in money and growth, or stay as a DE? Thanks. Look, I'll always tell people, figure out what you, how do I change it so that I actually show up here? Let me go back to here. Okay. I'm still barely, okay. Look, I think you should do what you like doing, right? If you really like doing ML work, do it. Because there's going to be ML work in the future. If you like doing DE, do it. You got to do this for the next, few decades. You better enjoy it, because like the article we read earlier, there's going to be the pain zone, and it's not going to be fun. And there's going to be days that your job sucks. And if you barely like what you're doing, it's going to be really, really hard. So that's usually what I tell people. Like, look, the money difference between a lot of these roles sometimes isn't that big. Sometimes if you're especially like an ML engine, like big tech, yeah, there's probably a big gap between how much you make as a DE and MLE. But in most companies, like the difference is like, okay, the data engineer makes 140 and the ML engineer makes 160. And these are all like more US in their general. Like I could be way off, but in that range. Okay, 20K difference. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, but when you're making that like a decent amount, it like if you hate your job, it probably won't be worth it. And it'd be better for you to go do something else with your free time that makes you the extra 10, 20K that you're trying to make, if you really were interested. All right, Alteryx is like that. Some of the Alteryx workflows I looked out looked like tornadoes. Okay, so that's definitely what I was thinking. I think it was like Alteryx or Talend, where it was like, you look at it and you're just like, it's nice if you don't know how to write SQL, right? Like if you don't know how to write SQL or how to interact with data in one way or the other, these tools are great. But if you do, it's just frustrating, because like, again, every step has to be an individual step, and that's really painful, right? Okay, we got to merge the two data sets. Okay, we got to change all the column names. I could join a table and change all the column names in one step with SQL. So that's why people like doing things themselves. So very interested in data strategy and guiding changes in data literacy. Looking forward to the new book. Yeah, no, I've got the first. Well, it's not the first chapter. It's just the first chapter I've got done. I'm still trying to figure out how to start it. But I got the first chapter written, getting the second chapter reviewed. It's going to get all reviewed again. I'm releasing some of them via the newsletter because I need some level of instant gratification to be like, guys, is this a good idea? Am I investing the next like year of my life into a useful endeavor? So that's kind of part of it. What are your approaches to documenting a data project? Do you use a specific tool? I was thinking about documenting a pipeline, tables, reports. I mean, generally, it's a combination of things, right? Like sometimes your tools do some level of documentation. I mean, do you have a catalog? Do you not? I'll generally have like a project, some level of like project plan and design doc that start it, right? Like that's your first little bit of documentation that cover, hey, here are the things I'm going to build. Here's why. Here's what they do. Here's the flow. Here's the lineage. From there, you generally in your code, you're going to obviously put some stuff in your code to kind of help any of those like really sticky situations, right? You don't want to put so much documentation that your code is all documentation, but you want enough, especially where, if you have a sticky decision that you made, you keep that. And then same thing, you have that decision written out longer. Like, why did I make this decision? Because those are going to be the things that people come back to in the future. And they're like, what was this person thinking? You're going to come back in the future and be like, why did I do it this way? Why was I only logging some of this information? Was I thinking correctly, etc. So yeah, I think that's it. Love your videos. As someone in the data field, I really appreciate how helpful these sessions are. Your unbiased take on technology is what I really enjoy the most. I'm trying so hard not to like be like, this tool is the best, because I don't know. I think at this point, like, although I am an advisor for several tools, I'm trying to make them better. And I'm trying to work with them to help them find people to work with. I've just worked with so many that I'm like, look, some are great, some are okay. Few are perfect. Actually, I would say none are perfect, right? Okay, Snowflake's going to cost you a lot in terms of whatever time. Postgres is going to be like, you're going to have to be a little more technical. There's always a trade-off, and that's just part of it. You're going to have a trade-off everywhere. So don't feel like you have to be using the coolest tools. What are your thoughts on the Microsoft tech stack, like SSAS, SRS, include Azure and Power BI? I mean, it's fine. I've used it. Lots of companies still use it. It works, right? It's tested. People know it. Again, it's not. I think, like, as long as it works, and especially if you're on a Microsoft only company, it's like, this is great. If you've got PowerShell in between, it actually works rather well, and it's all integrated. It would suck if you had to do that plus try to like integrate it with like 30 other tools that don't talk to it well. But usually talks well. I will bring up Azure again. The one thing I have heard, and Matthew brought this up earlier in the messages, like recently they've just been kind of, it feels like they've been losing their Microsoft edge, where it's like, it feels like they're kind of deprecating things more often, which then I've heard a lot of people have to like switch suddenly. So like, oh, we're taking what we were doing and we're actually going to do something different now. And that's been a little bit of a pain. So I have heard that. But of the stuff that's consistent, it works. People know it. And if you don't have big data, like SSAS works, right? I don't know. I've used it. I've used it a lot. That's where I started, actually. SSAS was like the first whatever you want. It's not even like an ETL tool per se, but like using it as an ETL tool or data pipeline tool before I even knew that was a thing. Like I just used it because I was like, I got to get data from point A to point B. Here's how I'm going to do it. What do you think about the use of DBT for data transformation? I like the fact that DBT has set a standard, right? Like, let's use SQL for transforms and let's make it easy to like version control and things of that nature. There are now a bunch of competitors, which I also think is great, right? Because we're going to push the whole industry to get better. I found it funny that their recent, like their recent conference, they like clearly tried to avoid. Let me see if I can find this picture. Because I found this so funny. DBT. Let's see if we can find this image. This one. I don't know why I found this image so funny. But I don't know if this is, I assume this is new. So they were like, Because it just feels like they're trying to avoid angering any of maybe some of their other companies in the space. Okay, how do I share this now? Oh, I got to go back to here. Oh, that's not what I want. Share this instead. This is what I want to share. So it feels like they clearly tried to avoid touching ingestion or like anything else, but they want everything else. They're like, we're going to be orchestration, observability. We're taking it all. F all the other products. So I thought that was funny. I think that's an interesting thought here. Is because I want them to do it all. Like personally, it's like half the time I'm like, oh man, I gotta like kind of juggle some of these different components. Like what ingestion? Like I want you to kick off a job as soon as ingestion's done. So why? Be together. But yeah, I don't know why I found that funny, but it's fine again. And I like that there's more competitors now. It's good for the space. I want to become a platform data engineer. What is the path which I have to follow to achieve this goal? I don't know where you currently are. So usually it's helpful to know like where you're starting. Obviously you need, I'd say, to understand a combination of like DevOps and data, right? Understand how to how to spin up what do you call it, Docker, Kubernetes, be able to like spin up Airflow instance on it, things of that nature. And then I'd still be a pretty decent data engineer, so SQL, Python, etc. It still only orchestrates the T layer, which isn't enough. That pic makes it seem, oh, does it? Okay, I missed that part because I just saw that picture and I was like, it feels like a miss. It feels like you should have done more. But again, it feels like they're moving forward, which I think for a year or two there, it didn't feel like they were doing as much. And so it feels like at least they've got a direction now. But and again, it's what it is. I like that it's SQL, as a SQL person, I like that it's SQL. So any suggestions for open source, low cost data governance, data catalog solutions? I mean, what is it? I think Data Hub is probably the biggest one that people use. I mean, low cost. You're always going to spend probably about at least low cost is different for everyone, but I think the lowest cost I know in general is like in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Other than free, which is like, you just in a bunch of Google Sheets. But yeah, like I think Data Hub is an option. I think that's usually the one that most people will use. And then that's not me saying that that's the best. There's like a few other open source options. I think it's just one of the more popular ones. But there's like 2 or 3 other ones. I don't have them on top of my head right now. So don't think that that's me recommending only. I'm just saying that is an example of an open source project. So that is not me stamping anything, but I probably need to get more options so that people don't feel like I only like one. Cool. I'm like, these questions, I'm probably talking too fast, which is why I've answered them all. No, I enjoy these questions. Again, I've been enjoying these lives. Let's see. Career-wise, is it better to stick in one system, tech or ecosystem or tech stack, and get good at it, or better to branch out to another later on when switching jobs? I think like it depends on the stage in your career. Like early on, I say get exposed to as much stuff as possible because you don't know what you don't know. And it's like you want to see as many paradigms as possible. You want to see as many tech stacks as possible. You want to like work with as many people as possible because you're going to learn a ton. And like when you have that like hustle and grind set mentality, which is, it's not just when you're young. I think you go through stages. I think even I have reprieves every once in a while. I'm like, I want to grind on a subject, but it definitely, when you're just getting started, you have that desire to prove yourself more. And so you want to learn more. And so I think early on, it's great to like use that energy and just learn as much as possible. Later on, I think you figure out what you want to do in the big picture, right? Like, don't worry about technology. It's like, do you want to lead teams? Do you want to be a principal engineer? Do you want to start your own business? Like, what's your plan? Because right, like if you're only 30 something, I'm around that age. Like I got 20, 30 years of work left of some sort, right? I don't know what it looks like. How do I want that to look, right? Like, what do I want that to look like? And you got to start asking yourself that question. It becomes a little more in depth. I think you asked a bunch of questions yesterday, and I think I was getting a little philosophical there. It's hard not to get philosophical, I think, as you get more experience, you start thinking about things like, why am I doing this? Like, is this what I want to do more often than you think? And you think less about is Python better than, whatever, some other solution. A little bit sometimes still is things, but you definitely think more on my life as a whole versus just technology. At least that's me. But yeah, that's how I kind of view it. It's like early on, do as much as you can, like learn, test, have fun. I think this morning, the Primeagen did a video about, he's like, the guy couldn't get a job, so he coded a game, and it's just like, yeah, like learn, have fun. Don't just do things because it's like work. If you have the time and you're given the time, whether that's because you have no job, which sucks, but if you have that time, I mean, might as well use it to do something meaningful. Because when you have a job, it's then you have it, and you got to deal with doing work. Can you tell me your thoughts, data consultancy, and what the typical steps are after working with a data consultancy firm? In the next 5 years, I want to take up a leadership role. Will I have options? So I assume you're working at a data consultancy. You don't want to open your own data consultancy, or are you talking about having your own consultancy and will you have a leadership role? If you open up your own consultancy and you do really well, it can often sometimes lead to leadership roles because you'll start pushing yourself higher and higher, and you'll start to talk to executives, and you'll start running teams, or at least running projects, and they'll see that. And if you're good, they'll want to hire you. And actually that happens also if you're working for a consultancy. If you push out of just being the person doing the work, because if you're just doing the work, you'll always just be a person that does the work. If you push out of that and start becoming more principal, start getting like higher level, start having conversations with leadership, that puts you in that like position to take leadership roles, because that gives you the ability to have the right conversations, to learn how to talk to leadership, and then in the future you can again have those conversations, know how to talk to leadership. And it's not the same as working and talking about tech and is GCP better than Azure? Leadership doesn't care. Is it still worth learning Spark in 2025? Should I learn Snowflake? I mean, I don't know where you're at. I'd look at the job boards around you, and if you see a lot of Spark, I'd learn Spark. And if you see a lot of Snowflake, learn Snowflake. They seem like they're going to be around for a little bit. They've both been around now for about 10 years, I think. And we haven't had any competitors, I think, seriously challenge them recently. And I say competitors, there's a ton of other solutions that are behind the scenes that don't make as much noise. Oracle has a pretty decent size data warehouse market. There's still these other competitors. So learn Snowflake and you'll be able to work kind of with both Spark and learn SQL, not learn Snowflake. Learn SQL and Snowflake will be easy. And then maybe learn Spark as Spark. Don't have to learn Databricks. Just learn Spark as Spark. Pick one. You're gonna have to learn them anyway. So pick one and see where it takes you. There's no necessarily perfect answer there. Not in terms of Snowflake, but like SQL, Spark. Learn them both. They're both good, and they're both. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Just because there's new tools doesn't mean they're like new tools are more likely to disappear than old ones. At least I don't know if there's data behind that, but from anecdotally speaking, from my experience, right, new tools are more likely to disappear than old ones. So it's the whole what's it, Lindy Hop effect? Is that the one? It's been around so long. SQL's been around so long. It's going to be around for longer. Spark's getting to that point too, where it's like it's just everywhere. So at the very least, you're going to be migrating from Spark. If you do get a project, you're going to have to know Spark because you're going to have to migrate from it. So, and we haven't even gotten to the point where people are like, let's do massive Spark migrations. Cool. No, this is good. I love all you guys coming to hang out. If you guys want, I want to do another live tomorrow. So if you have some topics or anything, feel free to like put them in the Discord or something or somewhere. I don't know, tag me, yell at me. So I noticed. Because I know I like this. I liked reading the article earlier. It was kind of fun. I'm liking doing these lives. Hopefully these I'm answering good questions. We'll see again. I'll do this pretty much all week until Friday. I want to do a live every day and see how it goes. See who shows up. Because it's fun. It breaks up the day. Especially as I'm like trying to write and do more. It lets me do I don't know, use different parts of my brain that I'm enjoying. So thanks. Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like, and it forces me to talk clearer too, which is hard sometimes because I talk too fast. I created a text to SQL chatbot that converts text into SQL, runs the query, and returns the results. It even handles complex joins. This could be the future of data analytics. I mean, maybe. I have a hard time. Like, again, this is one of those things where because I've been in the data world so long, I've just seen so much text to SQL. And so I want to wish everyone who's doing it the best of luck, obviously. But I think I'm so jaded where I'm like, I've seen this forever. It's the same thing. It like gets it to a point. And then when I have like actual hard things to do, I think the opportunity is like maybe there's a point where we finally get um the business, because it's really, I think that's sometimes the limitation. It's like the goal would be to get the business to write these questions and get accurate data and not have to question it. And actually, I did a whole video with Jose where he kind of went with Databricks version of this text to SQL solution that they have, and there was a point that like it ran into an issue, and I was like, and he was like, oh, he like looked at the query. One, he was like able to look at the query that Databricks ran. And he's like, oh, I see the problem. Like they put the where clause in the wrong place. Let me tell it about that. And I was like, if I'm an end user, like that's trying to ask this question and I'm non-technical, I don't know that the where clause is in the right place. So that's not an answer to me. Like right, like now I have to go back to the analyst, right? Like this wasn't helpful. And I'm not. Hopefully it works. I think everyone wants to not have to answer ad hoc questions. I want text to SQL to work. I think most of us do. I just haven't seen it work well yet. But again, it doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means it'll take a lot of work, especially all the edge cases. So look, self-driving cars are finally getting out there. And it took like over a decade of like really pushing on it, because we've had, I think, self-driving cars for much longer, or like basic self-driving and like computer vision for much longer. But like we finally got it kind of getting out there. So it could happen. It'll just take more time than I think you think. You solve the first part, and then comes all the actual hard parts. Is Seattle a great place to work? I mean, I like Seattle. I don't know how downtown looks like anymore, so it's probably changed, but it's nice, especially if you live in the suburbs. It's a nice place. It's if you don't mind the gray, like people, that's usually what gets people, the gray. I don't mind gray. I like the gray, but in summer it's beautiful. Is what most Seattleites will tell you. You got to drink a lot of coffee to keep you stimulated during the winter. I landed in manufacturing on an ERP called Dynamic Business Central Data, or Central. I feel like I should know Dynamic Business. It's not Microsoft Dynamics, right? Data analyst and analytics manager. Very much interested in data engineering, but the recruiters advise otherwise due to the demand. Thoughts on this? I mean, when it comes down to it, generally data engineers do tend to make more than data analysts. But there is, on the flip side, there is more demand for data analysts. So early on in your career, I say like, yeah, like do data analytics. It's fun. It adds a ton of value. And if you can become a good data analytics person and become a good data engineering person, you are going to rock it, right? Like you're going to do really good. And most of us started in the data analytics side anyways. Oh yeah, yes, Microsoft. I'm like, Dynamic Business. I know that sounds like Microsoft Dynamics. Great coffee in Seattle. Yeah. Rarely do I have bad coffee in Seattle. I didn't know that bad coffee existed until I went outside of Seattle and went to a coffee shop, and I was like, why is this coffee bad? And like it kept happening. I'm like, what is this? Like, what world do I live in where I can go to a coffee shop and get bad coffee? D365, so Dynamics is what I'm using now, and the consultants for that are making fortune. Yeah, this is how you know like these solutions are going to change your business. And then it's like, yeah, they're still hard to work with. Bring back Palantir, or my reference to Palantir earlier. It's like, look, it's going to change your business, but you're also going to spend like who knows how much on consultants. So how easy is it to use if I have to pay someone else to use it for me? I got to pay someone who used to work at the company. Again, that's not me like poking at it. It's just whenever any company tells you it's so easy to use, it I think frustrates me when then I see consultants connected to it. So I'm like, well, there are consultants, which means it's not easy to use. That's the logic. Why do I need consultants if it's so easy to use? Anyways, don't mind my frustration there. It was just something I was thinking about the other day. My org doesn't work with big data. I'm mainly working on SQL Server. That's great. Don't worry about that. I was a fresher and have 3 years of experience now. Will this affect my future as a data engineer? If it helps, I was where you're at about 3 years in, working on SQL Server, SSIS, Python. I really focused on data modeling in SQL and Python and program and being really good at that. And then, then I got a job at Facebook. So I would try to find get other experiences. I think that's important. Like be exposed to these other tools, maybe build a project in these other tools in your free time just to learn them and to show off that you know them. But I wouldn't if you're doing the right things, like trying to learn more and trying to get better, the right things generally happen. There's luck involved, to be clear. There's always luck involved. But if you're not ready for when luck happens, right? Like, what is it? Luck prefers the prepared mind. That's worse. So you have to, at the very least, try to upskill yourself, make some fun projects, write some articles, whatever it takes to get out there and kind of show off a little. I don't find industry level knowledge in YouTube. Where can I find complex projects with real time examples? One, what's it? Oh, I gotta find him. Look, you're not gonna find. It's really hard to do industry level projects. I'm just saying, it's hard. But if you want to see someone that does great projects and works really hard to put out good projects, you should check. Let me share this tab. You should check. Here we go. Code with You. Honestly, he does a lot of real time or tries to do a lot of real time Flink projects. It's hard to get the right data. It really is. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. Even his videos are several weeks and months apart. You got to kind of come up with your own data sources. I think at least he kind of sets up here's how you can use these tools, and he's got a lot of videos. I don't this is probably an underviewed channel. Check it out. Code with You. I'm considerably lazier. I don't put out this many projects. I don't put out project videos because it takes so much work. It's a lot of work. I try, and then I get busy, and then I do have work, and then I think it's a combination of I have too many things that I want to do. So yeah, but hopefully this is helpful. Code with You. Check it out. Dynamics only documentation for column level definitions is a blog written by one person. That's why consultants make. Yeah, isn't that great? Oh man. No, I mean, this is how the world is. I was talking to someone who's told me that they're yeah, I made my house is basically paid off by Microsoft. Not Microsoft working for Microsoft, but working with Microsoft because consulting. So yeah, coding with You is great. Check it out. He's someone I just know how much it takes to put effort into those videos. Oh, it's so bad. Is it bad? Oh no. I did one project video and it's so bad. You more? Do you mean you one with Code with You or the one that you made and tried to share with other people? Because yeah, it's hard. It's so hard because then you're always questioning yourself oh man, someone's gonna judge my coding or something. And the truth is, it takes time. No, I made one and tried to share. It's hard. It's so hard to put it out there because you're just what if someone judges me and doesn't like me? No, I think with coding projects. Oh, here, because I think this was cool. I think there's something to be said about the fact that you have to kind of make things happen yourself. Let me see if I can find this article. You know what? I'll just look up the Primeagen video because I need to jump off here in a second, but this is fun. I thought this was a good video, and it kind of covers something I think about as well, which is let's see if he's linked the article here. Did he? Well, here, I'll just show you this. Where's the title of the article? Because I just want the title. Just so it shows the title. Or maybe, he did a video. Oh, that's right. Well, let me see. Let me find this video. Here. This was a good video if you want to go watch something about how this is kind of how I view some of this as well. Which is you just gotta sometimes do things yourself. Which here, let me get this way. I'm in the way. Basically, the title is I made a multiplayer game from scratch because no one was hiring junior devs. And I don't know. You can watch the video with the Primeagen, but I think it has a really good point where it's look, Yeah, like you can't just make the same note or to do app that everyone makes. That's what the example he gives. But I think like that's the thing. Like everyone's just making the same stock trading ingestion thing, or they want someone to tell them what to make. And it's like, I mean, like watch the basic videos, get the skills, and then look at some data and be like, I want to pull in that data and pull in that data. Just do it. Like no one should, you shouldn't have to look for an example. Kind of just try it yourself. And all the problems you run into that you're frustrated and get angry, and that's part of the process. We all get angry. That's welcome to programming. You're gonna be angry sometimes because like this isn't working. Like I can't figure out why I'm getting this SQL error. But there's no instructions to tell me why I'm getting this error. And it's like, yeah, that's how it should work. There are no instructions. You gotta figure it out. Like, it's hard. But anyways, I thought it was good. I don't know what I feel like that's what pushes you to improve. Yeah. I got to leave in 5. What is this? What fields in DE embrace or are about to embrace massively LLM usage to gain work efficiency? Thinking about data quality, documentation, for example, do corporate generally allow LLM usage? Um, Documentation, I think, is probably one of the big places it would be helpful in, and maybe some data quality, especially if you can like have the LLM kind of look at what the data looked like in the past. Because right now, most of the data quality we do is either like some sort of, statistical analysis, like, okay, is this data in the right range? Is this the same types of words we see? Is this the same type of spread of words that we see? And so LLMs could add another component to it. I don't think it would, I think it would merely add another layer. I don't think it would be like the complete picture, but I don't know. I wouldn't focus too heavily on like, I must work for somewhere that uses LLMs. But you kind of should try to figure out some places where you can put it if allowed. I don't think every company, like a lot of like corporate companies, are going to have a hard time doing it. Oh wait, is this a different question? Is this the same one from earlier? Why did the job description say data engineer, but the list lots of skills requirements with years of experience, which seems like they actually want to hire a senior data engineer? Because there's a lot of people that need jobs right now, and they can. I mean, like that's really it, right? Like where it used to be like, you have 60% of this job rec, perfect, we're hiring you. Right now, it's like, hey, we know that there's every job is getting 1,000 job or resumes to it. We're going to ask you to do everything. You're going to be the everything because you need a job. And it's just a power switch, right? Like the for a while there, the power was in the hands of the people, us, and it's kind of switched. It sucks, and it really really does suck. I don't. There's no good way of like. There's no sugarcoating it. Like companies are that way. I sometimes feel like they all had a conversation and they're like, all right, guys, they're not working as hard anymore. Okay, we're going to fire 10% of them, and then the rest of them will work hard. I don't know if those conversations happen, but it definitely it feels that way as someone watching and talking to a lot of people. Like at a certain point, it's not just a few anecdotes of like my friends being laid off, right? And people that I know being laid off. It's like, this is crazy, the amount of people I know that have been laid off after like 10 years of being in the industry. So, yeah. Do you have to explain career gaps in interviews, or is it okay to just say it's personal and try to prove yourself skill-based questions? Depends on the company, right? Like, look, Facebook or something like that probably won't care. They just want to make sure you can do the work that they have. And if you pass the interview, you pass the interview. Some companies do. Like, yeah, they're older in thinking. They think that like if you're not working, you're somehow morally worse, and that's just how it is. It's weird. Just say you work for consulting and you had some projects and have a consulting company or something if you have to, or I don't know. If you think that company's going to care too much. If you don't, then don't explain it. If you have to explain yourself, it's one of those things. Like if you have to explain yourself, you've already kind of lost, right? Like it's like trying to, if you have a significant other, if you're dating someone, you're trying to explain to them why they should keep dating you. If you're at that situation where you're having to explain, I mean, it's kind of probably a lost situation. So hopefully you don't have to explain yourself. Oh man, everyone wants these questions. Look, who's going to win this battle and come up as a mature ELT and ETL tool? I think things are still up in the air, right? And also, I don't think either of them are really focusing too heavily on ETL. Oh man, I got to leave in a minute. So I'm not going to be able to finish this question, but I got to leave in a minute. So I got things to go to. So I'll have to jump on another live. I'll be doing this hopefully again tomorrow. So check around this time. The other thing is I got to be consistent probably, so y'all know what time I'm going to be doing these lives. But I'm going to head out. So thanks all for being here. I'll see you all tomorrow. I didn't realize what time it was. Awesome. Thanks all. Bye.